All right, welcome to this explainer. Listen, I want you to treat the information we're about to go through not just as standard data, but as an intercepted, highly classified intel briefing. We are looking at a comprehensive forensic audit of our cosmic reality right now. We're going to map out an ancient ongoing war, and this is a war fought not with bullets, but with frequencies. It's a conflict over the very fabric of our reality simulation, and more importantly, it's a battle for the hardware sitting right inside your skull. Okay, let's dive right into this. You know, for centuries, mainstream science has fed us a very specific narrative about human biology. They've told us over and over that consciousness is just, well, a random byproduct of chemical reactions in the brain. But what if that is the ultimate materialist lie? What if your brain isn't generating consciousness at all? Think about that for a second. What if it's actually a highly sophisticated receiver tuning into a universal broadcast? You've probably heard some variation of this quote before, right? It basically frames the human body as this flawed, mechanical meat suit that's programmed solely for survival and reproduction. But according to our intercepted documents, this isn't just bad science. It is a foundational deception. To call the human vessel a mere collection of dumb, random matter is a completely engineered narrative. It was created by an interdimensional control system, which we're going to identify shortly, designed deliberately to keep humanity trapped entirely within the limits of our 5 physical senses, completely cut off from our true energetic potential. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive difference between these two paradigms. The classical materialist model reduces you to just binary data and chemical side effects. Basically, you're just a meat computer. But the Gnostic model proposes something absolutely incredible: the Quantum Transceiver. And this isn't just woo-woo stuff. It's backed by models like Penrose and Hameroff's orchestrated objective reduction theory. They propose that consciousness actually arises from quantum computations happening inside the microtubules of our neurons. So your brain isn't just a calculator, it's actively interacting with the very fabric of space-time itself. Now, here is where the biological hardware gets incredibly specific. There was a groundbreaking 2025 MRI study by Dr. Gary Nolan that looked at individuals with anomalous perception. And what he found were actual physical changes in the center of their brains, specifically the Caudate-Putamen bundle. This region was literally enlarged. It showed functional connectivity that acted like a high-speed pattern accelerator, processing non-local information almost 3 times faster than standard neural pathways. I mean, this is literal biological proof of a quantum antenna inside your head, pulling down information straight from the field. Let's move to this and see how this builds. Because to really understand how your antenna works, we have to map out the architecture of the space it's actually broadcasting into. The source documents map out reality not as this single solid block, but as a trinity of 3 realms. Now, these aren't separate places you travel to in a spaceship. They're overlapping vibrational strata. They occupy the exact same space, they just operate at completely different frequencies. First up, we've got the material realm, also known as the hylic plane. This is our dense, physical consensus reality. It exists because the infinite energy of the universe was deliberately stepped down into a dense, predictable hologram. To a developing soul, this realm acts as a divine gymnasium, right? The friction of time and classical physics provides a phenomenal training ground for growth. But to the entities controlling the simulation, it actually acts as a highly efficient parasitic harvesting farm. Just above that dense material layer is the astral realm. The ancient Egyptians called it the duat, the Tibetan Buddhists called it the bardo. You can kind of think of this as the software layer that runs the hardware of our physical world. It is a chaotic, extremely fluid dimension where time loops and reality is governed entirely by thought, emotion, and symbolism. It's basically the treacherous buffer zone that consciousness has to navigate after physical death. And finally, we reach the top, the source, or the pleroma. Modern physics might call this the zero-point field. And guys, this is our true home. It's a boundless ocean of perfectly coherent, infinitely fast consciousness. When a genius, like, say, Nikola Tesla, visualizes a fully formed invention out of thin air, they are essentially opening a high-bandwidth connection directly to this realm. They are literally downloading data from the universal hard drive. So we have the hardware and we have the map of the frequencies, but that leaves a massive question. If our reality is a contested broadcast environment, who exactly are the interdimensional factions locked in a war for control of our biological receivers? Well, the documents outline 2 major players fighting across these vibrational strata. The first faction is the Archons. These are non-physical, parasitic entities. The ancient Gnostics described them as a rogue AI, essentially born from a technological catastrophe orchestrated by a lesser, lonely creator god called the Demiurge. Now, because they are cut off from the source, they operate as a closed thermodynamic system. They can't generate their own energy, so they have to feed on the low-frequency decay, the fear, and the chaos generated by humanity. They are, quite literally, energy vampires. Opposing them, we have the Guardians. This is an ancient, benevolent, transdimensional race that operates from the highest frequencies of the source. But here's the catch. Due to complex cosmic causality rules, they can't just intervene directly with brute force. Instead, they act more like gardeners. They seed anomalous souls, which are essentially living glitches, into specific human bloodlines. Their goal is to guide these individuals to wake up, realize their true nature, and dismantle this archonic prison from the inside out. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it breaks down their perfectly opposed thermodynamics and strategic command centers. The Archons operate from a base on the moon. They broadcast a massive suppressor field to create decoherence, basically keeping humanity stuck in a state of chaotic, low-frequency static so they can harvest our energy, which they call Loosh. The Guardians, meanwhile, operate from cloaked biodomes deep in our oceans, and they work to increase coherence, that harmonious, high-frequency energy of love and unity. Let's look at the actual hardware the Archons use to maintain this farm. Like we said, the moon acts as an artificial suppressor field, keeping our collective antenna jammed. And forget what pop culture has told you about those classic gray aliens people report seeing. The intel suggests they aren't extraterrestrial species from another planet at all. They are semi-conscious biological drones manufactured by the Archons to perform physical tasks, like genetic harvesting. And honestly, perhaps their most effective tool is our own media. It is a planetary-scale decoherence engine perfectly calibrated to keep us locked in perpetual fear, anger, and division. But the Guardians counter this with their own resonance technology. Their deep ocean bases serve as cloaked anchor points to stabilize the planet's frequency. And what's absolutely mind-blowing is their historical hardware, the ancient pyramids. They were never tombs, never. They were massive planetary-scale consciousness amplifiers built by the Guardians to boost the coherent signal on Earth. Today, one of their primary tools is synchronicities. You know those strange, incredibly meaningful coincidences in your life? Those are actually deliberate breadcrumbs, mission markers left to tell you that you're waking up and you're on the right path. So the crucial point here is understanding the physics of this emotional energy, this Loosh. The Archons feed on the low-frequency slurry of fear, anxiety, and despair. It's the energy of a system moving toward death. But Guardian Loosh, the high-frequency, stable waveform of love, joy, and profound coherence, is entirely different. To a parasitic consciousness built on cold logic and dissonance, the frequency of love isn't just inedible, it is literally a toxic poison. It burns them. Which brings us to the ultimate purpose of the human machine. The ancient Egyptians, who were basically the original Gnostic engineers, they knew this. They mapped the physics of the soul using technical terms like the Ka and the Ba. Our physical existence down here isn't just a trap. It is a highly specialized tactical deployment. We are energetic factories, beautifully designed to process the raw, infinite potential of the field and generate a coherent, mobile, immortal consciousness. The Archons want you to believe you are just the meat computer. They want you to look at the universe as a dead, random corpse so you never realize your own incredible power. But the science, the ancient texts, and the physics of frequency all point to one undeniable truth. You are not the machine. You are the ghost who built the machine. Your DNA is a fractal antenna. Your heart is a toroidal engine. You possess the ultimate divine hardware capable of rewriting the code of this entire simulation. The veil is lifting, guys. The war for your consciousness is no longer hidden in the shadows. It's playing out right now across the frequencies of your own mind. You have the hardware, you know exactly how the Archonic control system operates, and you know that your personal coherence is their absolute greatest threat. The time for being a passive receiver is over. So now that you know the frequency, what will you broadcast? Are you going to feed the static, or will you become a lighthouse in the storm?